NFL Draft Bible on location.
Yeah, I think we're all a little bit frustrated because we had our chances. I thought we're doing some good things. I certainly take away a lot of positives. This was an offense that scored 28 last week and scored 31, 2 weeks ago. So we certainly can take heart over that. We did a nice job in the kick game for the most part, with coverage and everything else in return. So I think we can be encouraged by that. First game offense and some young kids. We were a little bit more choppy than I ideally would like us to be, but I saw some good things there. So it's just a case of, you get into these games, you can't make mistakes. And unfortunately, we made a couple in key times, and neither one was, pretty much they were self-inflicted. And I think those are the things we have to eliminate. It's, you're going to have fumbles on violent tackles, and you're going to have some of those plays. But the offsides, critical situation, you're not handling the ball correctly in exchanges. Those are the things that I think we're all frustrated that we can do much better job of. We expect to do much better job of. We're capable of doing much better job of. And we'll get it straightened out, and we'll get down to DC and we'll play much better in week 2 than we did in week 1.
Coach, new offense, what was your impression, takeaways?
It was choppy, and again, it's a combination of new offense. It's a combination of, we're playing a lot of young kids, so there was some miscues and missed assignments and, routes that were cut off and, a whole bunch of issues that we're going to have to correct, which is not totally unexpected. That was my biggest fear, was week 1, young kids, new offense, can we calm ourselves down? Can we kind of pay attention to detail and be exact in what we do? I was much less worried about the defense, and that proved to be accurate, but, when you change things and you have young kids, you're going to have to live with some growing pains.
This is for Coach or Skyler. How did you guys sort of pick things up in the second half? It seemed like you got it going a little more.
Well, and again, Sky can chime in. We had it going we had them on the run in the first half. They were gassed at the end of the second quarter. Again, that was just more us than anything they did. And again, that's a critical scenario where you get some momentum, you score some points, you feel really good about yourself at halftime. You kind of have much more emotional energy and everything else. So it's these things that aren't inflicted to you. And again, because you're going to make, kid's going to make the ball's going to get batted up in the air and something, and the kid's going to make a catch, or there's going to be a violent tackle and the ball's going to, that happens. That stuff happens. But it's that other stuff that we've got to eliminate, because again, those are critical scenarios in close games, which right now, we're making too many. But you can chime in as well.
I agree completely. Coach always preaches, do the little things, and so that's what we got to do each and every play, and that starts with me. So.
It's not for you and for Coach as well. They had a lot of pressure on you in the first half, and that kind of showed with pass attempts deep, but pass attempts really short. In the second half, you guys got into a little bit more rhythm, intermediate areas. What looks did they give you that you thought were able to take advantage of to get that?
Well, they came with what we thought they'd come with. So, we just got to execute each play, and as the game moved along, and like Coach said, even in the first half, we were hitting those plays. But there's a couple breakdowns every once in a while, and that starts with me, of course, getting everybody in the right spot. So, I think throughout the game, we were doing a pretty good job with those protections.
And Skyler, that first turnover was obviously a little beyond your control, but the second one, could you just run me through what happened? Was it a bobbled handoff, or?
I was reading the end. It was a pull read, pulled it, got caught on his hip, and it was a fumble. I got to take care of the ball a little better than that, and we're going to correct it and move on from those mistakes.
And Keith and Christian, you guys in the secondary really kept Dreyer in check for most of the game, barring that one play. How did you guys keep him limited?
Well, we can't limit that to us in the secondary. The D-line was killing it, and they got penetration. But, on that one big play, just one little misassignment turned into a big play. Like Coach and Scott said, we got to button those little things up, we'd be fine.
Yeah, I think the secondary played great today. D-line really took the run away from them. We knew they were going to come out and try and run the ball a lot, so these guys inside, John Marco and Keith, really locked it down inside, and the back end played really well against the pass. So I think we're definitely encouraged by that, but just got to fix little mistakes, and it starts with the seniors. Little mistakes in critical situations, just like Coach Bagnoli said.
Yeah. And for you guys or Coach, does the run D need to shore up, or is Marcus Bagley?
Well, I mean, I thought, and I told our coaches this, that, he may be the best back we see all year. Remains to be seen. We have a lot of football left, but he's a talented kid. And then again, I think we got worn out a little bit, and I think emotionally we got spent as much as physically we got worn out. And I think that's the thing we have to guard against. I think that's human nature. And we went from 4th and 9, and they're punting from 5 yards deep in their end zone to, okay, now it's 3rd and 3, and they make it, and all of a sudden there's a huge exhale, on their part, and now we're saying, what just happened? And these are some of the critical things that, again, they're more self-inflicted. It happens. You don't want it to happen, and we'll have to eliminate them if we're ever going to turn the corner and really be able to solidify and really try and, win some of these tight games. And we're going to have to eliminate those things. So it's the first-year kid there at defensive end, so it happened. He's not a freshman, but it's his first game, so he's excited. Overall, I thought those kids acquitted themselves well, but emotionally, there's a huge swing. And it's the same thing happened on offense. Went from 1st and goal from the 4 and taking the lead to all of a sudden it's like, oh. And now it takes us 3 series on offense to kind of regain everything and come back. And there's way too much of an emotional swing based on some of these critical issues.
Coach, would you also say that maybe some of that has to do with the nature of the hurry-up, no-huddle offense, where if you don't get rolling early, it can be a quick shift?
Well, again, some of it is the byproduct of it. If you don't get a first down, you're turning the ball over with, you've run a minute off the clock. So that's one issue. And then it's first game. It's first game. And you try to replicate everything in practice, it's hard to do. And the game at some point will really slow down for our kids, especially the young kids. It'll really slow down for them. But it takes a little bit of time, unfortunately. It's not, most kids just, as young kids, just come in there and all of a sudden take a deep breath and exhale. And I think this game will be huge in that. So we'll be, again, we have enough positives. So it's a long season. We just got to maintain some of the things we've been preaching and correct some stuff. And, we'll be excited to get down to DC. But again, we're going to go back to the positives. That's week 3 for them. Okay, they went to Montana and scored 31. Okay, they're at Towson and scored 28. So there's some things we can take away from this. So it's not a bad football team by any stretch. They have the worst schedule in the country.
Speaking of the positives, special teams play I thought was really positive.
Well, again, they scared the heck out of us against Montana. They had a 96-yard kickoff return for a touchdown and a 91-yard kickoff return for a touchdown and 2 punt returns for about 60 yards total.
Was that an extra point of emphasis this week, knowing that they have a playmaker back there?
They scared you. So the kickers did a nice job of pinning the ball. The coverage was good. Our return game was positive. So there's a lot of positives, and it's really hard to replicate. Those kids on the kickoff, they come down a lot faster in week 1 than they do during the look team on Tuesday. And so, again, you got to be able to get into that stuff. So there's an awful lot of positives. We're disappointed in the fact that we know we're a pretty good football team. That's where it starts. And so the days of we don't think we're real good, the days of, hey, we're just trying to keep it closer, I think they're over. Now we want to win, expect to win, and we're disappointed when we don't win, and I think that's what causes the frustration. So it's a whole different mindset, but we'll be fine. We'll be fine. There's enough good things and enough areas of improvement from week 1 to week 2 that if we can pay attention to detail, we'll be okay.
One last question.
You guys were 3 of 15 on 3rd down conversions on defense. How'd you guys stay locked in?
Well, I think starts with stopping the run on first and second down, putting them in tough long yardage situations. And I think we have great coaches. Coach Ferraro's making great calls from up in the box, and D-line putting a lot of pressure on the quarterback, so the ball's going to come out quick. So really D-line and the coaching on third down, mixing it up on calls, showing around a little bit. So I thought they had some good players, but our D-line did a really good job, and coaches made some good calls.
Okay. Thank you.
I'll see you
Thanks
guys
a lot,
tomorrow, all right?
guys. Thank you for your
All right.
time.
See you.
NFL Draft Bible on location.